Did you know we have a thriving global community of like-minded ancestral home cooks and homesteaders? Every day on our Discord forum, we are discussing what we're cooking, what we're growing, what we're thinking about, what our latest struggles are, and supporting each other to fully embrace this beautiful lifestyle. As a patron member, you can also choose to access an extra private podcast feed, which includes monthly intimate chats where Andrea and I talk in depth about what's happening in our lives and kitchens. There are over 90 recordings waiting for you there right now. In addition, we've got a massive collection of inspiring and helpful downloads for you, including many recipes and videos. And once a month, you'll get to visit with myself, Andrea, and the community as we come together live and in person. Visit ancestralkitchenpodcast.com for all the details on how to join us. Come, be part of our world and change yours. Do you dislike all the fuss, packaging and stress that a mainstream Christmas involves? So do Andrea and I. We've both spent many years cultivating Christmases that are low-key, close to zero waste and calm. Listen in today as we share our tips for experiencing a green and peaceful Christmas. And as you listen to my husband Rob playing Christmas in his style, I also want to let you know that our 2025 Christmas Hamper is now available for all companionship or above supporters of the podcast. It's our thank you full of Christmas gift ideas, recipes and routines that will support you to have a wonderful festive period. Much love from both of us for the holidays.
Welcome to the Ancestral Kitchen Podcast.
I'm Alison, a European town dweller living in England.
And I'm Andrea, living on a family farm in Northwest Washington State, USA.
Pull up a chair at the table and join us as we talk about eating, cooking, and living with ancestral food wisdom in a modern world kitchen. As we approach our 100th episode, we would like to say a heartfelt thanks to all our supporters. Getting the episodes out every 2 weeks this year, with me moving countries and Andrea having a baby, has been quite a ride, and something that just would not have been possible without those in our community. We are so grateful for you. Our supporters have paid for new recording equipment this year, which, as with all IT, takes some getting used to. Andrea's track maxes out a few times in this episode. We apologise. We're getting there, and next year promises many exciting and interesting things, along with, we hope, trouble-free audio. Both of us send you our love and sincere best wishes for this festive period. Enjoy.
Hello, Alison. How are you?
Hi, Andrea. Yeah, I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Getting ready for this cold season. There's a fire going behind me, so you might hear some popping and crackling.
Okay.
Gary and Jacob have been stacking firewood, and
wow,
we're getting in the
Christmas
mood.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay, and have you eaten breakfast this morning or not?
No, I have not eaten breakfast, but my sister's coming over. As you know, she comes over once a week or so, and we're going to have the most festive and adventurous meal of oatmeal and toast.
Oh, okay. That sounds nice. Oatmeal always sounds nice.
It would be nice.
Oatmeal always sounds nice.
Especially in these cold days.
Yeah, exactly. Lovely.
What about you?
Yeah, I had quite a special lunch, actually. About 3 weeks ago, we were eating lunch, and the boys, I'm on a kind of gluten. I've been off gluten quite a lot of this year. I was not eating gluten, and they were having some gluten-ish thing. And I was briefly bemoaning the fact that I couldn't eat gluten. And Gable said, I'll cook you something. I'll cook you something that we can all share. And so I said, okay then. because I've been trying to kind of sneak in him cooking things in our routine. But of course, we moved countries and we moved houses, and it's really not an easy thing to do. But I took that as an opportunity to try and work with him a little bit. So for the last 3 weeks on a Tuesday, he's been cooking lunch with me supervising. So we kind of think about it a bit the week before. And then when we go to the market on Saturday, we make sure we buy the things that he needs. You know, I'm kind of guiding him to the things that I know are available. And so he's done 3 meals for us so far. And today he did stuffed peppers. So we, he won't chop onions. So I chop the onions. So he chopped the mushrooms and cooked them with pork. And we had some leftover rice from yesterday. So when it was all cooked, he stirred in the cold rice and he washed the peppers, chopped the tops off, scooped the inside out, stuffed the peppers. I got him working the oven, you know, doing the preheat and everything. And then he put them in the oven, cooked them for 35 minutes and they were delicious. So yeah, Gabriel cooked my lunch.
Wow.
With some of my help.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was.
I would definitely eat that. So be sure he knows.
For next time.
Exactly.
He wants to make...
When I'm there.
He wants to make a carrot soup next week, which
I love carrot soup.
Would be really nice. You were quite loud on the mic. I'm wondering if maybe you need to kind of push it away a little bit, maybe like 2 inches, and because you'll sound very enthusiastic.
Distance-wise?
Yeah, you sound very enthusiastic, which is nice, but the mic is a bit overwhelmed occasionally, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
If I sit back here, then just let me know as we go.
Okay, cool. Okay, have you got a review you want to read for us? Yeah,
I do. Yes, a really, really awesome review actually from BRN Girly, and I suppose I could infer this is a female. She titled it "A Binge-Worthy Podcast." It's kind of awesome because we're a food podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And they say, I love this podcast. I come from a family that ate real food made from scratch. My parents even milled their own wheat when I was a kid. And while I am very grateful for that upbringing, I never knew the why behind the reason we ate differently than everyone else. And this podcast has helped me understand why nutrient-dense food is so important, not just for me, but for my children and my children's children. It has renewed my motivation to be even more selective with what my family eats, even if it hurts my wallet a little more than I'd like. And there are still so much more amazing foods I am learning about that can be incorporated into our diet to ensure my family is set up for long-term health success. Very educational and inspiring. And I would also encourage anyone who is thinking about it to become a patron. After thinking about it for months, I finally did and cannot be more amazed at the support and wealth of knowledge that our community has provided. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Theo and Girlie,
Wow.
for taking the time to go and give us 5 stars and write that.
Yes, indeed.
It's wonderful.
And such important points, you know, your children, your children's children, you know, the food that you're eating has such a... Well, you have children because of food you ate, you know?
Completely.
It has such a big impact on the next generation. Yeah. So, bravo.
It's also nice to hear her talk about the Patreon community. And I was actually going to mention something about that, which seems like an apt time to do it now. We have, just in the last kind of few months, Apple, that big company, have made some changes, which Patreon cannot get out of. And it has meant that people who decide that they want to join our Patreon community from the Apple app have to pay 30% more for the privilege of doing so. And that money doesn't go to us. It goes directly into the pocket of Apple for the privilege of having an app store. So that was kind of a catalyst to make both you and I think, where are we going? Because the community has been so popular, much more popular than I imagined it might be. And it's just wonderful. And we want to keep it going. And also, we don't want people to have to pay 30% more for the privilege, which is not coming to helping us make the episodes at all. So we have hatched a plan with the help of Rob, my husband, to move ourselves off of Patreon onto a self-hosted platform, which will just mean that the place that the emails come from isn't Patreon. But the Discord channel will still be there. All the emails will still be there. Everything else will still be there. And it's going to take us quite a while to do it, maybe like a year to get it done completely, because it's a lot of work. But we feel, certainly I feel a lot happier feeling that then that whole community will be something that is under our jurisdiction. We're not sort of subject to a whim of a company that we are using the software of that might decide to put 30% on their charges, for example. So have I said that quite well, Andrea? Andrea, do you think that's understandable?
Yes, I think so. And people can avoid the charges for now by, either not, if you're not using Apple at all, like I use an Android phone, no issues there. Or they can, because this would apply to any other patrons anybody else was patronizing. Yeah. But they can also go to a web browser instead of doing it through their app, correct? Even if they're an Apple customer?
That's right. So if you've got Apple...
So for now, you can dodge it.
You can just join by going to Safari you'd be using if you're on Apple. If you're an existing patron, it's not going to affect you. So don't stress about that. If you're an existing patron, that's fine. But if you do want to join us and you're on Apple, for the moment, go to your browser and sign up, and then you won't get that extra 30% charge.
This is kind of sparking a whole conversation in the metasphere of, the way a company can sort of capture and monopolize an audience. And then, if they say 30%, well, we have Rob to build, literally build our own software. But I mean, how many people have someone like Rob working with them? So, many people are just at the mercy of whatever the company wants to do. So it's kind of got a big conversation going in the creator world and the digital space, whatever we're supposed to call it. I wanted to ask you about your newsletter sign up. Is this ready to go?
We have now like 2 newsletters. There are 2 newsletters associated with the podcast. So the podcast in and of itself has its own set up for a newsletter as of the last few days. So if you go to our website, which we built last year, which is ancestralkitchenpodcast.com, at the top you will see a little bar where you can enter your details to get the latest information from Andrea and I. And we're not quite there with sending those emails out yet, but we will be very soon. So if you want to hear from us about what we're up to, what we're reading, podcast episodes you might have missed, all the other stuff about the podcast, then go to ancestralkitchenpodcast.com. The top of any page has a sign-up bar. Pop your details in there. So that's ready. And I have a newsletter as well, which has been going for a couple of years now, which I send every 2 weeks, where and I've just been working on that quite hard the last kind of couple of months, making it bigger and better and putting more blog posts in it, sharing more things, sharing what's happening in my kitchen, talking about what I'm reading, lots of different things. That is on my website, which is ancestralkitchen.com. And again, there's a little bar at the top of every page where you can pop your details on to get on my mailing list. So there are 2 ways to connect with us and to hear more from us, to get us in your inbox as well with our trademark inspiration. And probably if Andrea's writing the newsletters, they'll be quite funny as well, which is nice.
If you've been around ancestral food for very long or listened to the podcast for just a few episodes, you know liver is a superfood, and Allison and I both love it. You're looking at a food packed with vitamins A, K, a broad spectrum of B vitamins, CoQ10, bioavailable iron, plus many essential minerals. Liver is your first stop when seeking to gain energy and restore your health. Not only is it a delicacy and staple of traditional diets, it's the first thing most animal predators go for when they're hunting. Are you looking for a good way to work liver into your daily life, but getting it on the table just isn't happening yet or as much as you'd like? Or maybe, like I went through earlier this year, you're pregnant and you're pretty sick and not much food is staying down. This is where liver capsules come in. Allison and I are both supplementing our ancestral diets with liver capsules from One Earth Health. We get all the incredible benefits of liver, even when we're on the road, or preparing non-liver meals for our family, or we just can't get a hold of a liver, and the sourcing and preparation has all been handled for us. One Earth Health produces nutritious organ capsules from 100% grass-fed, New Zealand-raised cattle. Support the pod by purchasing through our link. You'll get 15% off your first order and 5% off subsequent orders. Go to ancestralkitchenpodcast.com/liver or check the show notes.
Okay, let's talk about today's episode, which is our Christmas episode for this year. And we decided to title it, How to Have a Green and Peaceful Christmas. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of highlight from the title is the word green. And the reason that we came up with the word green in the title is because I stumbled across an article several months ago with some stats from the UK about Christmas, and I was absolutely shocked. And I sent it to you, Andrew, on Discord and said to you, I remember, this is just incredible. I think we should be highlighting how both of us try to have a green Christmas, as in we try not to create lots of waste. So to start with, I just very briefly wanted to share some of the facts because they're, like I said, they kind of blew me away. So the UK uses 300,000 tonnes of card each Christmas, enough to cover Big Ben 260,000 times. Which is just bonkers. I mean, Big Ben.
First of all, I love the way of measuring this.
By Big Ben.
That's pretty awesome.
Big Ben is huge.
You mean cards like mailing cards? Like
just card, I think cards? Just card over. So card that's in boxes, cards that's in, presents that have been bought, Christmas cards that have been bought, just card in general. And
like cardboard?
Cardboard, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, cardboard.
Oh, okay.
That's what we call card in the UK. Cardboard.
More efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Why use two words when you can use one? Okay. And wrapping paper as well. The UK uses 227,000 miles of wrapping paper. Which that's just bonkers. I mean, I remember when I was walking a lot, and I still do walk a lot, but not quite as much as I did. When I was pregnant, I was walking 5 miles a day. That was a long way. But 227,000 miles of wrapping paper. It's bonkers. The next stat's about Amazon, which I bet this has gone up because these stats are from a couple of years ago. On their busiest day in the run-up to Christmas, Amazon receives 47 orders per second. I'm sure that's bigger now, which is just horrible. And then the UK residents send around 114,000 tonnes of plastic packaging to landfills instead of being recycled. Now, when I read that, I thought, what's 114,000 tonnes? I can't figure that out. So I looked up. I actually looked up to start with the Empire State Building to see how much that weighed. I ended up at the Eiffel Tower. Now, the Eiffel Tower weighs just over 10,000 tonnes. And we in the UK send 14,000 tonnes of plastic packaging to landfills.
You are joking.
And so
14 or 114?
114. Yeah, sorry, 114. Yeah.
So that's 10, 11
times the weight of the Eiffel Tower.
What?
Yeah.
That is, I can't even, where does it go?
Oh, exactly. Where are those big landfills?
How does it fit?
That's the point. Where are those landfills? We don't see them. And because we don't see them, then we just doesn't really notice or trigger so much in most people, I think.
Well, Alison, I'm going to take your UK stats and raise them an American Eagle.
Okay.
And we already, I remember reading this in sorry, plug your ears. This is for listeners only. We already produce in America, the average American produces 5 pounds of trash per day. That's a normal day.
Okay.
During the holidays, that increases to 6.25 pounds per person per day. So I don't know what that is in.
So 1 pound is like half a kilo. So that would be like three and a bit kilos in English.
Wow. So that means since we have 330 million people, that means during the holidays, there's an additional 2,887,500,000 more pounds of garbage per week.
Oh my gosh.
Relative to the rest of the year. So that's kind of crazy. Our wrapping paper, these statistics I found measure it in pounds, 2.3 million pounds of wrapping paper.
That's a lot.
And I never thought about this, Allison, but returns, I couldn't think how returns was like ungreen or whatever.
Yeah.
But it says, these stats I found say that returns are responsible for 5 billion pounds of landfill waste per year because it says that many of the packages that are returned are never put back into the market. They're actually just sent to the landfill.
Right.
Which is crazy. Also, isn't that a huge loss for the company?
Yeah.
And then the food waste, 70 billion pounds of food waste are sent to the landfill every year. And the heaviest loss of that is during the holidays.
Right.
And the last one I'll read, which I never would have thought about until we moved off grid, is that holiday lights consume enough energy to power 400,000 homes for a year. And now that when I plug in a string of lights here, I immediately see, wow, look how much power that's taking. Okay, kids, look at it. All right, we're turning it off.
Because you're off grid. Yeah, look now. Take a picture in your mind.
What it looks like. Exactly. And now when we drive into town and I see houses, I feel like I have this power meter in my head going, telling me how much power they're using. So
yeah, those lights have really kind of caught on in the UK in the last 20 years. There weren't many houses around that had them when I was a kid, but now lots of houses have them outside, you know.
Way to be American.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. I think they're so beautiful. I love it. But all I can think about is like the power, the plastic. I know it's a problem.
So,
but
basically, stats both sides of the Atlantic are horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. So,
not good.
That's why we're going to focus a bit on green. We're also going to focus on peaceful. And I think the two are very, very much linked because in my experience of my life, the greener that I become and my family becomes, the more peaceful my life becomes and our life becomes. Do you experience the same, Andrea?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because also you could just say how to spend less money.
Yeah.
And
that's more peaceful.
Being greener, and that goes hand in hand. And
exactly.
More peaceful.
So I found some stats on that, but I don't believe them. So it says that 51% of women are stressed over Christmas. Well, I think if you
That's a lie.
If you put 10 women in a room and ask them if they're stressed over Christmas, 10 of them would say they are. So I think it's more
like 101%.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, you know, any tendency we have for kind of worrying about stuff, verging on, you know, on the end of the scale to mental illnesses, I think those worsen over the festivities. You know, there's the issues of money.
They do.
There's social media and everyone else is having a perfect Christmas while we're arguing. You know, there's family dynamics. It's not, the way that mainstream society celebrates Christmas is not a good thing for our peacefulness or our mental health. And
it's probably the same for you, but I know in the US that the most violent days of the year are the holidays.
Are they really? Gosh.
That's the most domestic violence calls is over the holidays. Yeah,
that makes sense. And what?
No, it doesn't.
Well, it does. When I look outside my window at how the world lives, it makes sense.
Yeah, you're right.
I can understand it. And what's sad here is that society seems to have lost the essence of what Christmas is. You know, it's a festival, whether you are Christian, whether you're pagan, whether you're a different type of religion. It's a time for remembrance and reflection. It's a time for togetherness. And it's a space that we can use for slow time when we can recall gratitude and think about gratitude. And it's just been completely hijacked by the money-making machine and our societal capitalist values. But Andrea and I are definitely here to inspire you and to show you that we do not have to take part in that. But in the world that we live in, it takes some focus. Okay, so first of all, let's take that green and talk to you about our tips for a green Christmas. So because we're Ancestral Kitchen Podcast, the first thing I'm going to say is keep cooking. So much less packaging with cooking than there is in buying wrapped up, boxed up treats and vol au vents and main courses and Christmas puddings and all these other things. We know from watching what happens in our own kitchens when we make our own food, our waste just goes so far down. And because we're used to cooking traditionally and valuing our food, we know how to use up our waste when we cook ancestrally. So, we'll put our bread crusts that are a bit stale, let's make kvass with those. We'll have a bokashi or a compost system, and we'll put our vegetable peelings in the bokashi, or maybe we'll put them in the freezer and put them in the stock, or maybe we'll make some fruit vinegar with our fruit peelings. So all of those things impact the impact that we have at Christmas time. So I would say make a Christmas pudding. Go back to the episode from a few weeks ago.
Yes,
definitely. And importantly, don't. It's like a mindset shift, I feel. Don't think like you need to have what everyone else is having. If I go to my parents, they're eating completely different things to me at Christmas. Things that some of them are being cooked, but a lot of them, are packets of chocolates that come in lots of wrapping, pies and things they bought, mince pies with plastic and cardboard around them, sauces, just all these things that the supermarket puts in front of them. Because I very rarely go in a supermarket, I don't see those anymore. And so I kind of, partially, I kind of blank them out because I've forgotten that they're there after not being involved in it for so long. But when we're with family that live differently, or with friends or part of our family lives differently, it's hard sometimes to remember that there is another way. So I just wanted to reiterate, you can make what you want to make and eat what you want to eat. You don't have to think that, because it's Christmas, I have to be eating this, What do you want to add to that, Andrea?
I think that I think it's good to be very aware of the consciousness of wanting to do what everyone else is doing. In a way, that's how these holidays and festivals were sort of shaped by cultures in the past, because, a lot of the Christian holidays, they put them intentionally close to pagan holidays so that everybody could celebrate at the same time, or kind of adopt or co-opt some of the same traditions. And so I think there's a natural desire to integrate with the people around us. And so I think it's good to not just discredit that desire and think, not saying you were, but just telling us ourselves, if everybody else is having it, why am I feeling this? Yeah. And think about, there is a sort of instinctive tribal push to do what the people around us are doing. But I think that what we're doing is starting to catch on a little bit. Yay. And if we can keep influence stirring everybody around us into, dropping some of those store-bought treats and making simple homemade ones instead. I'm thinking of Katie posted in Patreon yesterday for St. Martin's Day. She made those St. Martin's rolls.
Okay, yeah.
That's not the right word for them, but I can't remember the word for them. And I thought that's a good example of, she said everybody in the town has them at the same time. It's a very strong West German traditions celebrating St. Martin of Tours. And I thought that's a really good example of it's a holy day, or as we call it today, a holiday, and everybody's eating the same thing. Yeah. And then I watched some videos from that Russian account that Brains and Eggs shared in Discord yesterday too. And they were talking with this lady in a really tiny Russian village, and they said, do you ever get bored? And she said, no, there's always a holiday and I'm always cooking for something, and there's so much food to make for the holidays and special treats and things. Yeah. And so I thought, again, everybody's going to be eating the same thing in her village. And so we just have to help the village go back to the traditions that that aren't quite so corn syrupy. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I've tried to find, particularly since having Gabriel, treats that I can make that he could take to his friends, So we could be
Oh,
involved
yeah.
more in other things, like maybe we go to the Christmas tree lights or a service, a carol service or carol singing, something like that. But he'd have something to share in those moments that has come from our kitchen rather than potentially come from a shop. And he can enjoy those, and then he can offer those to other people as well. So that's a way that we can try and make something in our kitchen and then extend that to a kind of a communal space. Yeah, thank you for that.
I love that.
Okay, so outside the kitchen, because there is a world outside the kitchen.
What?
Or not. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No one told me.
Rob and I don't send Christmas cards. I think the first year, maybe we were Christmas just came up really, really quickly. I think we maybe just moved to Italy. I can't remember. And we were like, oh, I can't do Christmas cards. And then since then, we've not done Christmas cards. It always feels to me now just like all this, you buy the stuff, the Christmas cards in the shop, and maybe I'm a bit bar hungry, but it's card and it's ink and it's packaging and it's transport to post it, and then it just goes in the recycling if you're lucky, you know. So I make sure that I'm in contact with everyone that I love over Christmas with personal messages, phone calls or a video call or an email, but we don't send cards. We don't wrap our Christmas presents either. We do try to kind of hide them in the way that wrapping would. So sometimes if we've bought them in a box, sometimes they stay in the box. Sometimes they'll be in some sort of bag. So I'll have a fabric bag or a pillowcase and I'll put things in there. And particularly with Gabriel, he'll put his hand in, you know, not looking, and then pick something out. Or we'll put them around the house sometimes. So sometimes I'll hide things, you know, around the back of a chest of drawers or, you know, under the mattress, or in, you know, the oven's not on, I'll put it inside the oven, and then I'll send him on a little chase to try and find them. And that works just as well as Christmas presents, as much as Christmas wrapping.
Oh yeah.
So that's I think something that we love, and we're not bothered that we don't have Christmas wrapping. And then, you know, our kind of present buying has changed since I've been with Rob. Really, you know, we don't buy each other presents. Rob and I don't really buy each other presents. Maybe little tokens we buy for Gabriel. We tend to try and give him things that, you know, he's really wanted. And I've listened for what he's wanted over the year, or seen opportunities where a book of that would really, you know, he'd like it. Or this year, he really wants the crystal tumbler because he's into crystals. So that might be the one big thing that he gets. And I think, you know, these days, with so much available online, there's an opportunity for us to gift experiences just as much. So, you know, sometimes Rob will give me a bit of paper that says, like, this is like this is a massage to be taken whenever I like give Then a month later, when it's like January and it's really horrible and I'm really stressed, I'm like, right, I'm checking in that massage tonight, please.
Yes.
But yeah, online.
Can't get enough of those cards.
Exactly. Online, there are lots of ebooks that we can buy where there's no printing, no paper. I know sometimes it's nice to have a real book, but there are ebooks too. And there are courses. We have our ebooks for both of our cookbooks, and I have courses on how to make chocolate, how to make boza.
Yes, you do.
How to make rice sourdough. That can be gifted without the need for wrapping paper, without the need for something to be shipped from somewhere. It comes straight to your computer. The other thing is you can make things. Andrea, I'm talking quite a lot. Do you want to talk a bit about what you do at Christmas with presents and making things and gifting? How does it happen in your house?
Yeah, well, I'm loving hearing you talking about this. We don't send cards either, but that's just because we're lazy. No, never really thought about the waste of it. Just never got around to it. And we sometimes wrap, we sometimes don't wrap.
Okay.
And we usually use, like, Gary gets, I think I've told you before, these big brown rolls of paper. And then it's perfect because after the holiday, we have all this fire starter. And since we have to start a fire at least once a day, then that's handy. So I don't know if it's good or bad. None of our cardboard gets sent away because we want it all. Yeah. I really love the idea of giving the online courses because that's actually something that I was thinking about doing this year. Because part of the thing is nobody wants clutter to just stuff in their space. Yeah. And even if something would be kind of nice to have, a lot of times we're also just as happy not having it and not having to clean it up, you know? So I'm thinking about particularly your chocolate course. If anybody's listening, that's like a really good course. And if I was giving it to somebody, like I think I'm trying to decide which ones for which people, but I want to give your courses to people this year because I talk about it all the time. And so now they can cook it with me. And I was thinking about what I would give them with it. Like if I was going to give them the rye course, I would want to give them some of my sourdough starter to go with it because then they're basically ready to go. Yeah. Or if I was giving them the boza course, I would put together a bag of millet and then give that to them with it. Or, you know, basically something to help them get started.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And obviously with the chocolate course, you could choose some beans online. Should just be one.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, there's depending on what tools someone has. Someone might just need, you know, they might even need a mason jar to put their boza in or something, depending on how well stocked they are already. So that's some things that come to mind, and definitely I don't know if you've seen the fiber arts thread in Discord.
A little bit. I try to keep up on Discord. Yeah. There's so many conversations going on. And
you want to be in all of them, but you just can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But in there, everyone's been sharing about what they're making. And wow, we have some very talented and skilled makers in our group. Yeah. So that's a really good idea. And then I meant to tell you, Allison, with the cards. Yeah. I don't know if Gabriel does copy work for school, but something that I do with the kids' copy work is when they copy out a page, you know, a verse or a line of a poem or something to work on their handwriting. And then when it's all done, they mail it to a grandparent or somebody. That's nice. Because then instead of just looking at it and then throwing it away, I thought maybe we could send it as a grandparent or great-grandparent kind of greeting.
Present, yeah.
And so you could send those at Christmas time if you wanted.
I like that. Gabriel is obsessed
if you had homework.
with Good King Wenceslas, the carol. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. You know, that's so funny. Jacob has played that one like 100 times. He's also very into it.
He tries to keep singing it because I know all the verses off by heart because I sang it too many times. And it's a story, so you easily know which verse is the next one. You just follow the story along. Yeah. But, now I'm thinking maybe he could copy out a verse of Good King Wenceslas, which would be quite nice.
Oh, yeah.
We got...
well, it helps them with their work and gives them a point, you know.
We, as I was showing you the other day, we managed to get a free piano, which is just amazing. And so he's been practicing just with one hand on there, just going over there when no one's around and playing around and trying to come up with a few Christmas carol melodies on it. I think he wants to practice them.
I love it.
Which is nice. So talking about the patrons and that thread, that fiber arts thread, which is on Discord, the last Christmas special we had last year, which I think is number 73, called Slow Christmas, we talked for quite some time about the gifts that patrons give, that they make themselves, because we actually asked them, you know, we did a call out, okay, we want to talk about handmade gifts. What do you gift at Christmas? And they came back with lots of ideas. So if you want ideas for kind of handmade things that you can gift at Christmas, which don't involve going to the shops, go back and listen to number 73.
Nice.
Hey, you washing the dishes. Been there. You've heard Allison and I talk over and over about her love of rye sourdough bread. Well, I might actually call it an obsession, but that's neither here nor there. Now you can make Allison's rye sourdough in your own kitchen with her as your teacher. And she's a really good teacher. Rye is economical, it's delicious, and full of nutrients and low in gluten. There's a reason why it has been a darling of bread bakers for centuries. Make it into sourdough, as Allison will show you in her course, Rye Sourdough Bread, Mastering the Basics.
and you've got an amazing, tasty, and nutritious staple in your kitchen. It's traditional and it's nutritional. In this course, you'll learn everything there is to know about how she creates and maintains her rye sourdough starter, all about whole grain sourdough rye, including the key differences between baking with rye and wheat, how to make 2 loaves, an everyday rye sandwich bread, and a delicious Russian-style dark rye loaf, and what to do with your sourdough discard, including video walkthroughs for sourdough pancakes and a tasty, sweet, spiced cake. Head to www.ancestralkitchen.com/rye.
Okay, so let's move on to talk about a peaceful Christmas and again give our tips for it. The first thing that I want to say around this is that it feels to me really important to figure out what peaceful means to you, because it's easy to be swayed by what's going on outside our home, what's going on social media, what our family want, what competing members of our family want. Unless we know what's important to us and what things in our life create peace for us, then we're really not going to be able to go and find or refuse things that will take us into that state. Mm-hmm. So think about, for yourself and for your family, what makes you feel peaceful. And then what I tend to try and do when I'm thinking about moving towards something and try and moving away from something else is, where are the crunch points in your festive kind of time together that are more difficult to handle? So are there situations where you're with one particular person, or there's always a time of day, perhaps Christmas Eve at a certain time, it's really chaotic? Or is it because you haven't prepared something in time? Think about what the crunch points are and then try and figure out how you can work around them to mean that those aren't going to be the kind of same repeating pattern that happens all the time. So, Andrea, you start here. Tell us what peaceful, particularly at Christmas, means to you.
I like the way that you asked that. I would definitely say that in it, less so the list of things that I had thought, but peaceful would mean not trying to keep up with some ideal that I've created in my head of some fantasy family that doesn't exist, and not agonizing or stressing over money and spending on the holidays, not being upset or concerned with food waste. And so those would be kind of the goals. And then certainly all of that would encompass being able to actually spend time with my kids and with Gary. And so some of the ways that we practice that would be listening to the Messiah with Cindy Rollins' Advent book called Hallelujah. I think I mentioned it on the last Christmas episodes also. Listening to music generally. We have a stack of Christmas CDs. Yay, because I don't like to listen online. Attending church programs like plays or concerts or music programs. And also participating in those programs if that's the right time of life for you. And usually attending those things is free. So that's a nice family event. And you can often find a bunch of ones at different churches in the area. So, of course, reading and then eating and baking at home. There used to be a lot of store treats that I just couldn't really imagine Christmas without. And it's really interesting, Allison, that over time, sort of the idea and the memory and the importance of those has just slowly faded away to now I don't feel any need whatsoever to have them. And other things have sort of filled in their space. Then intentionally making the treats that we can actually trust and that we can turn into a long-term tradition.
What sort of treats do you make?
Oh, let's see. Lemon meringue pie.
Okay, yeah.
Things that I can write the recipe down and put it in a book and my great grandkids could make it.
Yeah.
Where they might not be able to buy the store treat that I had as a kid or something. Or maybe if it's still available, even from the same brand, it'd probably be made out of, melted plastic or something by that time.
Yeah.
So giving
Literally.
them a recipe, literally giving the memories to my kids that they're not going to have to try and undo, and be like, my kids can't eat this, when they're growing up. So yeah, there's all kinds of things. They're not all sweet ones. There's like these crescent rolls that I love to make. Just an old whole wheat roll recipe that's like really buttery whole wheat rolls. I don't know. I'm slowly putting all of my favorite holiday recipes into one notebook so that when the season rolls around, I can just pull that notebook out and they're all in one place.
That's really nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And then I think that's kind of the big ones for the things we do for peace.
Talk about your Christmas presents, because I know you've kind of got a different attitude to Christmas presents that comes from your mum and how she gifted Christmas presents. Talk about that a bit.
Yeah. Well, remembering that there was 8 of us kids, and so, big, expensive, frivolous gifts were not so much on the table. And my mom grew up not with Christmas mostly unacknowledged in her home. She remembers always hoping that her parents would bring home a gift. And she remembers one time they were coming home really late on Christmas Eve, and she thought maybe they got a gift this year and they had just worked late. And so I think it became important to my mom that Christmas was really magical for all of us. But she also still had a budget to stay within. And my mom is really good at budgeting, so she wasn't, going to just blow everything out of the water. But what she would do was she would gift the things that we needed for the year. So our boots, our jackets, underwear, socks, school books, and supplies like pencils. All very practical things that she would have had to buy for us anyways. Even sometimes little lunch type food snacks and stuff that she would have bought anyways. She would wrap it all and just make this giant pile underneath the tree, which as a kid felt like the most exciting, luxurious thing ever. And it wasn't until I'd been an adult for many years that I realized people have this idea that a Christmas gift is supposed to be something that you want, and that a practical thing is like an insult. I can't even wrap my head around that. If I need a new vacuum, then what more exciting thing for me to find under the tree than a vacuum? To me, that is just the greatest thing ever. And so then for us gifting to people, what we've been doing the last few years is cuts of meat from our freezer, or I've always given jars.
I would love that.
I know. I've always given jars of jams and jellies and pickles and things like that. Yeah. And then different homemade foods. My grandma would always make us all zucchini bread. So she kind of was always giving food, and my mom always makes banana bread. And so foods are such a great gift, because everybody needs to eat.
Yeah, especially like the jams and the jellies and the chutneys and things, because they're a treat, or they are for me, that kind of thing. And also they have things in that you wouldn't necessarily put together. They're always slightly different and they taste different. And if they come from someone's garden, or that person's gone to the farmer's market and bought all that stuff, there's so much more behind that gift. You can feel it than a jar of the same but not as nice tasting thing, like you said, probably made of plastic from the supermarket.
Yeah. The patrons are helping me to come up with a list of homemade gift ideas as well to add into our Christmas hamper.
Okay.
So at Christmas time, we put out a Christmas hamper for patrons to download, and it just gets bigger every year because it's basically as an ebook, and I just keep adding to it.
Yeah, I
So
think
I'm adding in
pages
homemade
and pages
gift
now,
ideas.
isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it's pretty long now. But that's another thought too, is I think I alluded to it earlier with the recipes, but make a holiday notebook for your home.
Okay.
And in my holiday notebook, I have all sorts of things that I want to remember, including lists of things and spaces to clean before the holidays and to have orderly so that I can make sure that that sense of peace prevails in whatever way it can. And I'm not trying to both sit down and enjoy an evening and also worried about some giant pile of something somewhere. I want to be able to be present for all those extra social events.
I think that's
So that
actually,
means
although it
some of the cleaning happens early.
although it sounds kind of perhaps menial, that goes back to what I was saying, to figuring out kind of what's important to you in order for you to be peaceful. And if sitting down with your family, you can't quite be present there because you know there's a pile of washing or there's this corner of something that's not, you know it needs overhauling, then planning in advance to say, okay, I'm going to spend, 10 days before Christmas or whatever it is, I'm going to give a couple of hours over to sorting this out. Then we're able to be more present with who we're with over the holidays and have all of us there rather than a bit of us kind of a bit grumpy because something's not right. Yeah, I agree.
Proest of the pro tips
go on.
is to, if you're the, the adult in the family, get your room thoroughly cleaned, deep cleaned and decluttered before the holidays because then if you're having to set things in there, people's jackets and stuff like that, it's,
It's nice to have a clean space to do that. Yeah, I agree. Cool. Okay. Anything else you want to share there before I talk a little bit about peaceful?
Oh, I did want to say also, I almost forgot that Rebecca, who's a patron of the podcast, so I got a couple years ago from her website, we do art studies, as you know, and I can put a link in the show notes to explain what that is, but she has Advent art studies. So she's put together basically collections of prints, or you can just look at them online if you want to get, the online version of beautiful, sacred art, pictures of paintings from different periods of time. I think there's like a Fra Angelico, and I'm trying to remember what else was in there. Anyways, that's a really nice way to bring both some beautiful art and culture and also feel like it's part of the season. And so we get those out every year and display them. And it's kind of like having decorations.
So you actually put the prints up around the house. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I let the kids all choose their favorite one. Yeah. And then they each they're like, this one's mine. This one's my piece. And so then when people come over, they show them, this is my picture.
That's nice.
So it's really fun.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And you will put that in the show notes for people so they can go and have a look, yeah?
I will put that in the show notes, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay.
What about you, Alison?
Yeah. So kind of a similar theme in many ways to you, but kind of maybe a little bit more British. So for me and for Rob, the most important thing, I think, is to not over schedule things. We both have a tendency to just be doing lots of things, and there are demands on our time. For everyone, there are demands on our time over Christmas which go over and above normal weeks. And it's all too easy to just go, yes, 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 especially if you've got lots of kids and they're doing something here and something there and the other one's doing something somewhere else. And so it's important for us to say no to things, literally to say no. Because for me, peaceful is not having a schedule where I have to run around. I want to be able to stay in my pajamas in the morning. I want to be able to sit around and do what I feel like. So if I want to play cards with Gabriel, or we want to listen to some music, or we want to read a book together, or I just want Rob to play the piano and I'm going to listen to it, I can't do those things if we're running around trying to get, dinner done so we can get out of the house and do this and do that. So having big gaps of free time is the way that I really feel like I'm able to embrace peace the most. I think being flexible is quite important to my state of mind over Christmas. So to give you an example from this year, we are back in the UK this year, whereas for the previous 5 years, we've been in Italy at Christmas. And so we are closer to our extended families. And this year we will be going to visit Rob's mum, and we will be with Rob's mum for Christmas Day. So in order to kind of figure out how that works for all of us, we are going to have our family Christmas, i.e. Rob, myself and Gabriel, early. So we're going to have our Christmas on the 21st and the 22nd. Work will be quieter, so we are able to do that. And, the day before that, we'll go to the market here. So we'll buy something to eat, and we will have our special Christmas breakfast and, lunch and dinner, and our Christmas Day on the 21st. And then a Boxing Day on the 22nd. And then we will get on a train and go to Rob's mum's house and have Christmas with her. So kind of being flexible and thinking, okay, well, we want to have our celebration where it's just us and we can be peaceful and be in our PJs. But we also want to, go and spend some time with Rob's mum because she's on her own and she hasn't seen us at Christmas for 5 years. That's being flexible around that has enabled us to kind of get the best of both worlds. And I think that's quite similar to what I know you've done, Andrea, when Gary's been working. Is that the case? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we just move it to the day that works.
To a different day, exactly. So the other thing, apart from being flexible and not overscheduling, is avoiding mainstream media. So literally no, well, we don't have a television anyway, but no social media, not that we engage with that much anymore. Just turning everything off. So I'm not being involved in, this is what Christmas is, this is what everyone else is doing, this is the adverts, this is someone else's perfect Christmas. I don't want to know about that. I want to focus on my family, the people that I love the most, and coming out of that kind of work, everyday routine into a space where I can actually be with them. So just, avoid mainstream media. That's a missive for life, I think, from me.
That's wise any day of the year, Alison.
Yeah, exactly. So turn off, you've got a phone, turn it off. Choose to stay away from advertising, choose to stay away from social media. So do you have anything to say about that, Andrea? I know we've both had a journey with social media this year somewhat.
As I say, here.
Yeah.
You just don't know how much it's sucking out your soul until it's gone. Yeah. And then your soul starts to reassemble itself and you realize that it was a parasite.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And then with that space that's created by not overscheduling and avoiding mainstream media, I like to just find ways to engage with the people that I'm with, that I love. So, letting Gabriel choose a way that he wants to. If he wants to play a certain game or he wants to go out for a walk or he wants to listen to some sort of music, then I can actually be there with him doing it, not worrying about something else. Or if we want to cook something in the kitchen together, we can do that. If Rob wants to play, I can engage with what he's playing. If we, like I said, we play games, we read books, we listen to music, we sit around and talk really slow, peaceful, lovely things. That's my idea of peace. Okay, do you want to add anything to the piece before we start talking about all the wonderful things we've got to share with people?
I think it's just beautiful, and you'll have more memories of that than you would of maybe gadgets that you got, years later. These are the things that we're going to be holding in our hearts, until we die, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
We will always remember these times.
Yeah,
so will our kids. And
you know what? I'm going to be 50 next year, and just getting older makes you think, how many more Christmases will I be gifted? You know, will I have the grace to experience? And you know, Katie, one of our patrons, sent me a note this weekend. She's testing some of my recipes for the oat book, and she sent me a note because I told her that I was going out with Gabriel to for a walk in the Forest of Dean here and to do some rock hounding. And she said, you know, just enjoy it. He's an amazing age to kind of spend time with and see his enthusiasm. And you know, I realise that as I watch him getting older and I see that I'm getting older, to actually spend some time with him when he's a 10-year-old boy, you know, rather than, you know, a 20-year-old boy. Hopefully I'll still be around then. But just to feel like you said, the grace of these are memories that will be with us forever. And now's the time when we can choose to create those beautiful memories by just going with what we know we love, rather than being swayed by other things. And yeah, be thankful for another Christmas and another opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. We choose it now, or we don't get to choose it.
Yeah.
We can't go back and choose it.
Exactly.
So I think it's wise.
Okay. So you mentioned the Christmas hamper a little bit earlier.
Yes.
So we have a 2024 version of the Christmas hamper, which
My
is
little baby.
even more bumper than it was the year before and the year before. There are...
It's growing up.
Oh, okay, no, it's getting big. We've got recipes in there. We've got traditions in there. We've got gifting ideas in there. We've got things you can listen to in there. We've got lots of stuff in there. That's available that's going to go up on the website. Is that right, Andrea? You're in charge of that.
Yeah, it will go up where patrons have a login to download all the things we make for them, and it'll go up there.
Okay, so if you would like to download our Christmas hamper and become part of our community, which is really, really fun. It's been wonderful to watch the community growing this year and to learn from, like you said, all the expertise that's on there. So you can get hold of the Christmas hamper if you are a patron at the companionship or above level, which is just downloadable from our website. We also have quite a lot of other Christmas episodes because we've been going quite some time now, which feels really good.
Look at that. Look at us go.
I know. So we have back in the annals, we have number 20, which was Christmas traditions and what inspires us at the holidays. That's got one of our favourite dishes, memories of Christmases and traditions that we want to cultivate more of, which we wanted to cultivate more of in 2022 or whenever that was. Then episode 47, we have the Christmas survival guide, which had an anti-stress focus. So how to eat ancestral whilst you're away, how to try and eat well if you've got people coming to you and bringing other foods, dishes you can prepare in advance, you know, how to cope when your kids are just being offered all manner of things that you would rather they don't eat. That's what that focus is. And then last year, I think I just mentioned, we did episode number 73, which was called Slow Christmas, which is focused on the way that we and our supporters slow Christmas down. We also have the Christmas pudding episode, which just went out a couple of weeks ago, which was with Francine, who's one of our patrons. And that, if you want to make a Christmas pudding, there is still time. You don't have to make it weeks and weeks in advance. And that is available. And also there's a download available to everyone for that episode, which is on our website, ancestralkitchenpodcast.com/downloads. You'll see that's called the Christmas pudding.
It's basically a book.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good download.
Thank you to Francine and you for making it.
And you for the photographs of
thank you.
Delicious pudding.
And for making a Christmas pudding. Oh, it's such hardship.
Oh man, you struggle.
You know, when I went back through those episodes to get the numbers ready for this recording, I looked at the show notes of episode number 20, and I see that the show notes are just so long, and we obviously had so much more time back then, and it just made me think about how far we've come. I wanted to thank our supporters, because some of them have been with us since that episode, which was 2021. And we are at just over 100 supporters. So if you would like to support us to continue what we're doing, do come and be part of the podcast. And patrons do feel like they're part of the podcast, that's for sure. We are having a UK meetup early in 2025, which is exciting. Discord is amazing. And also, I wanted to say, listen out for our next episode, which is number 99, which is going to be a bit of a fun celebration episode. And then carry on listening to us.
Very fun.
Next year. Okay, anything else you want to add, Andrea, before we close? I think we're actually on time this episode, which is amazing.
What?
I know.
Oh, my goodness. Look at us.
I know.
It only took us 3 years. We finally got it under our belt. No, I think this is just beautiful, Allison. I love all the things that you shared, and I'm definitely kind of feel like I need to ask Gary to get my box of Christmas CDs out from under the house now.
Excellent.
So
wonderful.
Yes,
okay.
'Tis the season.
Well, thank you for everything you shared too. And so both of us wish everyone who is listening a very beautiful Christmas that we hope is green and peaceful, as well as a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like to support the podcast, you can join as a patron. Choose from various levels starting at $5. You can see what we offer at ancestralkitchenpodcast.com.
While you're there, check out our favourite books, supplements and kitchenware, or give a one-time donation.
Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
And if you know someone who would love our show, tell them about us.
You are helping to bring ancestral food wisdom into modern kitchens, changing the world one plate at a time.